everybody, welcome back to the show. I am S.A. Baz Collins and my co-host.
Vance Bastion.
And today we're doing, let's just say I put Vance on a path that he wasn't prepared for. And I even gave the marketing in the wrong direction. I told him it was a dark comedy.
You did.
And instead, it was a tissue fest.
It was.
I don't get to pick these anymore. Or at least I don't get to market them.
Oh, no, I just now assume that everyone you pick is going to be like this.
They're not all, trust me.
The film was...
the film is that we're talking about and that we're laughing about here. And I just want to say that when I first approached Vance after he had watched it, the look I got was this.
You still haven't said the title.
I know. So the movie we're talking about is Swan Song. It was put out last year, kind of low-key put out. There was some talk about it in queer media, but not much in the mainstream. And it is by the wonderful writer-director Todd Stevens, who we've reviewed his previous movie, Edge of 17, and it takes place in the same town, which is, I guess, where he grew up. That's pretty much what he said before. Mm-hmm. So it takes place in Sandusky, Ohio. It has one of the actresses from Edge of 17 in it, and she's kind of been in almost all his films. So that's always and her name is, I'll look it up. Gosh, should have been prepared. Stephanie McVeigh. I knew it was McVeigh. I just couldn't think of her first name. And she played the mother to Eric. No, it wasn't Eric. Todd.
The main character.
Huh?
The main character?
The main character.
I don't remember.
Anyways, she played the mother. So this time about, she plays a shopkeeper that the main character, played by the marvelous character actor Udo Kier. You may not know the name, but you've seen him in many things. If you watch Blade, he was in the first Blade movie. He played the lead vampire that they were trying to take down. This is one of the great character actors of our time. He truly is just a genius of an actor. This story deals with some very dark themes. That's the look I got, people. That's the look right there.
Let's just say it deals with end-of-life choices, forgiveness of both the self and other,
and
dignity,
going out on your own.
Going out on your own terms, finding dignity, maintaining your dignity, and a level of grace that most of us refuse to think about, let alone actually ever achieve.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a comedy. Dark comedy.
There were some funny moments. You have to admit.
Even the funny moments, you knew they were the last funny moment of that type.
I don't know. I think the exchange between his nurse and him when she was looking for the cigarettes, and he said, I think those exchanges were good. Girl, bitch, don't try me. And then when he goes to the black beauty shop.
That was funny.
That was the whole Ryan Murphy lines from Glee with Kurt and oh God, I'm blanking on her name now. Mercedes, where they would they said that, I'm gay, she's black, together we make culture. That scene kind of like explained that, showed it on for what it was,
Sure, but that comedy was framed by the fact that something from his past life was gone forever.
Yes. Yeah, and again, something from theirs.
And something from theirs. But again, every element of comedy was framed around an element of loss.
Well, but that's the nature of comedy. All comedy comes from pain. All of it. It's all rooted in pain of some sort from somewhere in somebody's life. That's just how comedy is born. You laugh at the misery, or you figure a way to find the humor in misery in order to reclaim your position in life. That's the way I've always understood comedy. And even when I create and did comedy, I didn't do it, even if it was slapstick comedy, I didn't do it with that intent. I always tried to find, as an actor, where was that pain that drove that kind of manic kind of motive, you know? And I think that that's what I found. I understand you bringing up all that with the mortality and that stuff, but, you know, I'm of a certain age now, and I've had my face with mortality with my own cancer journey. I'm dealing with my husband. So this was all very, very familiar territory. I also had, in situations, I explained to Vance off screen, that my mom had a meltdown and had those kind of emotions running this week. So I understand that kind of facing your golden years, as my mom said, and find out they're not quite so golden.
The gold is tarnished, is I believe how I've heard it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that that's one of the things, and I actually found power in the way Pat, played by Udo, moves to that end. You can tell he knows it's coming. I mean, he even says it to the attorney for Rita, played by Linda Evans, that, you know, he says, you know, when will this be taken care of? He goes, oh, within 6 months. He goes, I'll be dead by then. You know, so you know he knows it's coming.
And I just want to preface my reaction by saying this is a beautiful film. It is moving. It is touching.
I think it's one of Todd's best that he's ever done.
Agreed. It was just not billed correctly to me before I watched it, so I didn't get what I thought I was going to see.
Yeah, Todd, don't hire me for your marketing department. It is a beautifully crafted film. It deals, and I think one of the things and the reason why it is so powerful is because as the viewer and the way that it's filmed, you feel the nuances of him having these moments where the past and the present collide in a way that, you know, you don't quite know what the bearings are. I mean, you do as an audience viewer, but you understand that the character isn't quite sure of where they are in their timeline. It's not full-on dementia, but it is definitely past memories.
He's playing with a little bit of temporal fugue, and he's trying to show you what it would feel like to be in it.
Yeah.
And it's beautifully done. Again, it's an amazingly crafted film.
Yeah, and they touch upon the closing of a lot of queer spaces, and why that's happening, because all the things we fought for means we don't necessarily have to have those safe spaces anymore. And
we have other ways to find each other.
Yeah, and I get that, and I think it's interesting. I took the demolishment of the house, and of Pat's house that was demolished without him being aware of it, that he shared with his lover, his partner. Because I don't think they got married, because he died in '95.
It was pre-marriage.
Yeah. I took the demolishment of his house as the same, and I know you're going to think this is weird, but this is where my mind went. You know that moment in the movie Time Machine by H.G. Wells where he sits in the time machine and he sees the progression of time and how things get built and then they get torn down, and then that's kind of what I felt like when they went to his house, or when he got to where his house was and ran into that couple there. And I thought it was apropos of what happens later when he gets to the club and it's its last night. It's Swan Song. Times are changing. And even the gay boy behind the counter, who was not going to have a job the next day, you know, was kind of ambivalent to it. He was kind of like, move on, because he has ways to meet other gays. He doesn't have to. As a matter of fact,
he's on his phone talking to someone while he's kind of okay with the thing coming down.
Yes. And not understanding the history of it, nor appreciating it. I don't think he appreciates it until you see Pat on stage before the big blow up, but you see Pat on stage and he begins to see the generations before in a way that I don't think he anticipated, because there's a moment where he puts his phone down and he actually absorbs what's going on.
Yep.
And it's almost as if that's the memory. What I loved most, without spoiling big time, but what I love most is towards the end of the film when Michael Urie's character, Devin, I think his name was, check real quick, Dustin,
yeah.
Who is Rita, played by Linda Evans, who has died. The whole premise is he's been contracted by her, a stipulation in her will that will leave him $25,000 if he goes and does her hair, which he used to do when she was alive back in their day. And she's requested that he come do her hair for the funeral because it's going to be open casket. And at first he resists, then he decides, no, fuck it, I'm going to go ahead and do this. So he at least makes the trek, and he keeps maneuvering back and forth of whether or not he'll do it. And there are moments where he completely rebels and tosses stuff aside, and you see him spending money. As fast as he gets it, he throws it away. And you begin to really take an appreciation. I found it, in a very weird way, empowering, because he was doing the most queer thing to the very end. In that...
Where were you going with your Dustin comment that you never finished?
Oh, well, I'm coming to it.
Okay.
He did a very queer thing in the process, because every rule that society tries to pen queer people in, our resilience is built out of breaking those rules and breaking through that wall to say, no, we're doing it this way. And I think that was a strong empowerment. The only thing that he was really sad about, and it was evident when he was with his friend Eunice, played by a wonderful character actor as well, and they're sitting on the park bench, and they see the two dads with their kids. And he says, and he tells them, oh, the bars are closing, this bar's closed, that bar's closing, blah, blah, blah. And he said, who's going to remember us? They have kids. They're going to be remembered. And I thought it was very interesting with Dustin, because at the very end of the movie, it's Dustin who tells him, I know all about you. I know your memories. But you may have thought my grandmother didn't listen, but she did. And she shared them all with me. And he says, you made a difference in my life. And that's the power in the film that I got from it was, you always everybody wants to make their mark in some way, to say, I was here. It doesn't have to be some grandiose thing. It's just, you want to be remembered in some way. And I think that what I liked most about Swan Song was that he went out on his own terms. He broke every rule of societal norms. He just, played it the way he wanted to. And I like the fact that, to the bitter end, he was calling the shots. And for me, I hope I have the courage to go out like that, because I don't think that's an easy thing to do, to go out fighting, at least in your queerness. That's the thing for me that I took away from this film that I found very powerful, was the fact of saying, just because you're getting old doesn't mean you have to give up everything. You can still find ways to be who you are. It's whether or not you have the courage to do it. And I think that's where Udo did his greatest work. And I think that's where Todd did some of his best writing and directing, was in those moments. You?
My biggest takeaway was the layers of forgiveness required for him to move forward, because he had to learn to forgive himself for his past mistakes and the way he reacted to the loss of his partner. He had to learn to forgive Rita for the way she snubbed him at the end of his career. She had to reach across the grave to forgive him so that they could both move on. It's just layers and layers and layers of forgiveness. And he had to find a way to forgive his dead partner for leaving him and leaving him alone in a lurch. And he had to learn little bits too, like forgive the couple that sat on the plot that was his old house. He had to forgive them in order to leave that moment. And each
Well, it's
time,
like she says, she tells him, let go. Dee Dee tells him, let go.
and that's just it. In order for him to move on to the next thing, he had to.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a little bit of healing each time. And I think he wasn't fully healed until the very end.
Yeah. Which is when
Yeah.
he let go. He learned to let go.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a very powerful film. It does have comedic elements. They are dark, but I still loved it. Like I loved when he's riding in the motor scooter and he's holding up traffic 3 miles down the road and he's just driving the middle, smoking. God, that is my friend Jeffrey. Jesus Christ. I saw that. I went, oh my God, I can see my friend doing that. That's why I have to get him to watch this movie because, man, will it hit close to home for him.
Just be careful how you frame it to him.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, so you want to get to the ratings?
Let's do it.
Okay, you start.
Overall production, I gave it a 4. It's beautiful, didn't get in the way of itself. I don't remember any part of the production quality knocking my socks off, which is why it's solidly at a 4. Script screenplay also at a 4, and only because there were really slow moments, and a lot of the references felt like in jokes that you weren't part of, which is what kept it from being a 5. It doesn't at all preclude your enjoyment of the film. Sound, lighting, score, 4. Didn't get in the way. It was exactly what it needed to be. Art direction, costuming, while there was some fun stuff going on, again, it was appropriate to the plot, but it wasn't mind-blowing, so 4. Casting, 4.5. I think this was a really good cast. Somebody knew what they were doing when they put everybody into place. Directing, I gave a 3 because I feel like the director missed some points. Like I said, there were moments of slowness that just didn't have to be there for the element and the emotion to be there. And I think that the director should have had a hand in tightening up some of the script. But queer themes presented, give it a 5.
Especially since he wrote it.
I understand. Queer themes presented, I give it a 5 because he went through almost every level of queer Sandusky, and he did it not only geographically but also age-wise, which was really neat. It was a neat matrix to see. So overall rating a 4.
I'm doing 5s across the board, and it's not a flippant 5, an ambivalent 5. It is a very focused 5. I don't mind slow moments in film because sometimes it's those subtleties you get in the action or inaction that may happen in a given scene. And that's probably because of my big Hitchcock persuasion. I love cinema verite. You don't have to give me words. If I can absorb what's happening in the moment, they could not be moving at all, but it could just be the look in their eye that I see the machinations of their brain thinking of something or focusing on something or not focusing on something. So I love those moments. I think that's when actors really can shine, and to be a clever enough director to catch those moments and to say, yeah, no, that shot, that's the one I'm after. I appreciate that. So my counter to what you said is I actually enjoyed those moments more because I got to see nuances, and because I also know how Udo is as an actor. He is very precise about every action he does. He is extremely careful about his intonations, his the way that he moves with the character. Just even when he slips in front of the big hunky guy who comes to his rescue, he's helping him lift up and he looks like this. There are just moments that Udo knows how to milk properly that I think are really, really worthy. I would give this movie a 7, a 10, a 25, because to me, it is Todd Stevens' masterpiece. I think it is one of the best films he has ever produced. I would love to know his creative journey of how this came about, because it says it's inspired by true events. I would love to know that story of where it came from, because I think that's really interesting. I also found it really refreshing that one of the elements he played, well, actually there were two, that the colorization of the film, the overall color of it was very pallid. It was very, very, very
It was
subdued. It was very Midwestern to me. It was very Midwestern. You know, I remember watching Super 8, which was also supposed to take place in that part of the world. And I remember being shocked by the color. I know this is a weird thing to juxtapose, but I remember being shocked by the color, because I think when I really look at a lot of films that are placed in the Midwest, they often tend to play into that color scheme. You know, Silence of the Lambs had that color scheme when you went into Ohio and those areas, and it was very muted. So I kind of like that. So anyways, it's 5s across the board. My personal overall 5 is a 5 as well, because I just think Todd really knocked it out of the park with this one. It is a movie I will definitely watch many times, because I got all the musical references that were in it that he tied into it. And again, he did not go for something odd. You know, when you hear Don't Cry Out Loud, it is Melissa Manchester who is singing it. I got every one of those musical references. I got all the old-timey references that he threw there. So from a cinephile and a audiophile perspective, I loved those elements. So that's one of the reasons why the sound, lighting, and score is high on mine, because I liked the way that Todd uses music. He used it brilliantly in Edge of 17 as well. He didn't spare the change when it came to his music selections. He goes for broke, and those are not cheap, you know, tags to put in. Even if they use a little bit of it, they still pay a fortune for those clearances. So I like to see that he puts the money in, and that the musical artists get that, you know, percentage, because it, you know, that there's a reason why we put these songs to the soundtrack of our lives, you know, kind of thing. But anyways, yeah, so that's my ratings and Vance's. Next week, we are going to do something a little lighter. Well, I say that. I've watched it already. I'll just say it's more fun. There's an element of fun in it. Think Pose in rural Alaska. There you go. I'll give you that.
Next week's film is Alaska is a Drag.
Yes. So, until next time, remember to like, subscribe, tell your friends about us. Comment down below if you've seen this movie and what you thought about it. And if there's, you know, a movie that you want us to review, let us know. We will definitely take a look at it. We're open to suggestions. Fix my dentures again. And until next time, remember to keep watching those movies, keep making those memories with your family and friends, and be kind to one another. Life is tough. Let's make it easy. You know, have the courage to be kind.
Exactly.
All right, and we'll see you next time. Take
Bye,
care.
everybody.
Oh, what's that? Closing time. The bums rush in melody, dear.